Hi, I'm Breckwatch Unicycle. Welcome to my Let's Play of Judge Dredd, Dredd vs. Death. A budget title released in 2003 by Rebellion Developments. It was released on the PlayStation 2, GameCube, Xbox and PC. This Let's Play will be done on the PC version.
It is the third decade of the 22nd century. Unemployment is endemic, boredom is universal, and only the judges can prevent total anarchy. Empowered to dispense instant justice, they are judge, jury, and executioner all in one. The most feared and respected of all the judges is Dredd. He is the law.
You are adoring public. Dredd, you gotta stop holding your fan club meetings outside City Hall.
Dispense with the wisecracks, Anderson. Tell Dredd what you just told me.
The precogs at Psi Division are predicting a terrible plague.
Dredd, the last thing the city needs is an epidemic. Citizens crammed together the way they are, it would spread like wildfire.
I'll keep my ear to the ground, Chief Hershey.
In the meantime, disperse those demonstrators outside.
Consider it done. Bleeding heart liberals, time to dispense some justice.
First thing to note is the beautiful cartoon, comic / aesthetic going on here. Absolutely beautiful, lots of use of colours. The next thing you'll notice is that the background is absolutely gorgeous. And we're being introduced right now to the arrest mechanic. You'll see in the bottom right of the screen there is a little bar with an eagle at the top. If that's full, that's brilliant. And it's going to affect our reputation, as the nice lady has just told us from Control. And I've come here to sort of show you another side of the arrest mechanic. You know, you can arrest anybody you want. It's kind of broken in that regard, but you get a lot of interesting information when you arrest people. You get their name, their list of charges, and the sentence that they receive. Absolutely fantastic. There's quite a lot of detail for a... Well, okay, it's a necessary feature in a game like this, but I don't know. I felt like they went to town on it as much as they could, considering the budget price of this game. I also went to there to collect the meta pack. Okay, so we're seeing our first Synthpop ad, and we're seeing a Be the Law advertisement, which is, well, it's a recruitment advertisement which doesn't quite work. This is actually one of many sort of inaccuracies in this game. It's by far the most faithful representation of the character so far, and universe. But we're seeing a lot of interesting artwork here. Stuff it. It's fantastic. So, we've been told to head over to this fellow here and arrest him. What you just saw there was a graffiti cleaning bot. So we're going to punch him in the face, and then he's going to surrender. Unfortunately, not all the perps are going to give up that easily. So anyway, we're going to head down this elevator, and then we're going to look over the beautiful megacity skyline. The graphics, while even for 2003 are quite outdated, they have a beautiful style. And I'm heading over here to look for a certain kind of elusive criminal. We'll run into them later. But here, we have another piece of flavor artwork. Inform with a dumbass and a moustache written on there. Surf the Friendly Skies is a reference to the in-universe sport known as sky surfing, which is actually outlawed at Megacity 1 at this sort of time period. But this game takes an interesting spin on the whole timeline of Judge Dredd, because I can't quite identify when this game takes place in the sort of canon of Judge Dredd. I just can't figure it out. Death to everyone indeed. Well, he says 3 months. I say 6. I guess I'm just more hardcore than him. I think we may... Here is our elusive criminal. Be on the lookout for smoking scumbags like this. Smoking in public is a pollution, and it is going to be charged with usually about 30 days. But that woman also had another charge. Synthecath is also quite important. You're thinking, why would you bother with Synthecath? The real deal is illegal.
He's dead. There, folks.
Dr. Dick Icarus? Fluffy? He's alive! But how?
Pet Regen will bring your pets back to life. Available now, Pet Regen, because they're worth it. 555 Regen.
You'll also find some plot important things in this game, which appear to be flavour at first. This whole pet regen thing becomes quite central to the plot, and we're going to play with the ricochet bullets here, and we see that they're of absolutely no use whatsoever. And now we're going to try... The heat seekers don't work very well either. We're going to be using standard shot and an armor piercing for this Let's Play. I'm going to be using at various points high explosive and incendiary, but I'm only really going to try and show things off. Other than that, I mean, the only two you want to use is standard and armor piercing. So we're just going to finish up rounding up these youths, who don't seem to like giving up. You can shoot them quite a bit, and they don't even give a fuck. They'll happily throw bombs at each other, though, as you may have noticed. So, checking out more artwork as we run into a medic, who we will utilise later. You may have noticed obese people around. We'll be seeing plenty of those, and they are the butt of many jokes in this game. Right, so we enter our first sort of iconic sort of law enforcement activity here, which is single-handedly stopping a bank heist. Of course, these guys are in very snazzy suits, and our inept judge friend is trying to help us. But the idea here is to, for the points, you really want to try and shoot the guns out of their hands. They're great AI. It's necessary to get a good score to try and save as many as possible, but doing a pure sort of pacifist run is impossible for many reasons. Some being that some enemies you can't arrest, and others you just can't make surrender. I mean, some of these guys will just run and get their gun every time you shoot it out of their hands. But speaking of completely unarrestable enemies, well, we're going to be coming to those shortly. You may have noticed an interesting piece of artwork in the background there. 35% off, and they accept limbs as down payment, which is reasonable. You know, loans do cost an arm and a leg these days.
What was that thing?
I got a bad feeling about this.
So, from the sound we heard when Dredd was firing his gun in that cutscene, we kind of get the idea that we need to be using armor-piercing bullets. But I'm going to showcase this weapon here. You'll notice that I have a lot of magazines for it, and there's a reason for this. I would do more damage to these vampires if I fucking fed them this gun. It's quite useless. Many fatties are going to die if I try and stop vampires with it. So we're going to go back to our faithful lawgiver. We're going to destroy some vampire scum. You'll notice there's a very sort of time splitters aesthetic here. A game that really sort of comes to the forefront of my mind when I'm playing this game is time splitters, and I'm sure a few people, or maybe even a majority of people, would agree with me here. And well, we're about to try out Incendiary. Let's see how this works. Seems to have just pissed them off. Whereas the high X that we now use seems to just blow them away. And you might know that round about this time was when ragdoll physics became the thing that you had to do in game development. And you just used to see bodies flying everywhere, especially in games like Halo in the multiplayer. You just see bodies flying all over the place. But yeah, this game doesn't handle physics very well at all. So what we're doing here is we're doing a final sort of cleanup of vampires, and we're doing a pretty poor job of it. We're seeing the population basically fall down around us. I mean, I'm a terrible judge. And you can hear the fat people wheezing. It's just part of the flavour of this game that so much fits Dredd's world, but at the same time there are so many glaring inconsistencies between this game and established Dredd canon. One of the most famous things I can think of is the fact that you effectively start the game in the tutorial, which is mandatory, but I have elected to not show it, thanks to some very useful advice on the Let's Play Sandcastle. And we're going to arrest one more fatty. But yeah, so we've heard about the Dark Judges, and that something's going down in the Penitentiary, and well, the ISO block, and we're going to head over there now. I was actually sending emails to the man who voiced Judge Dredd and a couple of other characters in this game, because I thought his voice was most spot on to what I'd hear in my head as I was reading the comic book. And out of the many things in this game, it's worthy of note. I mean, it's quite clear that some love went into this game. Anyway, more on that later.
Dredd, there must have been 100 vampires packed into that H-Wagon.
I'm going in.
So we noticed that an H-Wagon had sort of flown into the penitentiary that was loaded with vampires. And we know that the Dark Judges are being held here. So this sort of tells us that this vampire sort of thing, outbreak you might say, and the Dark Judges are related somehow. Well, we can clearly tell about the vampires that they are some sort of genetic aberration. They may be undead, we can't be sure. And how does a death cult fit into this? It's very interesting, and I'm sure we're going to find out very soon what all of this means. But first, we're going to see the Law Rod. The Law Rod is a fantastic weapon, as we're about to see. It has automatic fire, which I'm about to showcase. You know, made short work of him. But much more useful is the sniper mode, which I'm probably going to try and showcase you in a couple of seconds. But anyway, as I was saying, I was speaking to the guy that was voicing Judge Dredd and a couple of the characters. He voices the sort of British-sounding hooligans that we're going to make contact with in a couple of seconds. And I was basically asking him what sort of lines were his favourite, and you know, he sent a message back saying that he really enjoyed recording this, and you know, he really thought it was a laugh. You know, it was funny. It was fun, which should tell you a lot about this game. You know, the art style. You know, the colour sort of dialogue. You know, it's all adding flavour. And this game isn't taking itself seriously, which is something that really sort of stacks in its favour at the end of the day. I mean, it really sounds like, you know, this was just a cheap little game, and, you know, the people that work on it, you know, just thought, hey, let's have some fun with it. So we saw the sniper function working, and we noticed that that sort of took out anything in about 1 or 2 hits. So we'll be using that again, even though I'm sort of a man that really likes to stick with the Lawgiver because it's Dredd's iconic weapon.
There's vampires everywhere.
This could be that plague the side division judges have been talking about. Give me a med pack. Feels better already, doesn't it?
Yeah, these medical guys hand out med packs if you haven't taken any damage. But if you have taken damage, they'll just inject a syringe in you instead. Medic was so boss he didn't even give a fuck until it was too late. Anyway, looks like we're about to get a free law rod, which was great because, you know, we were running low on ammo for that bitch. You might have noticed that the melee on the law rod is kind of obtrusive and quite useless. I really wouldn't recommend using it. Now, you know I said earlier that having the law meter basically go to 0 is a really bad thing. Let me explain why. You see, if that goes to 0, we instantly fail the mission. And then, if you remember from Halo, where if you were to kill too many friendlies, suddenly all the friendlies would turn hostile. And in some cases, they would be completely invulnerable. Same thing happens here. Anyway, we've just thrown some stun gas in there, and what stun gas does is it makes people who, you know, you otherwise wouldn't be able to arrest them. But in this case we've used it for crowd control. But we'll be using stun gas to get some more difficult arrests later on, and we really should be switching to armor piercing here.
You're going away for keeps.
So we're about to encounter some interesting sort of flavour material here. Also vampires. Okay, we're clear for now. So let's take a look at this. You know, it's all quite tongue-in-cheek and a little silly. But, like I said, this game, it really has no pretense about it. It is what it is. It doesn't take itself seriously. And there is nothing more you can admire in a video game than that. You might have noticed that we've been fighting a lot of vampires here. Thought I'd sort of butt in here while I try and steal this poor judge's mode of defense. But yeah, you might be thinking, hey, there's a lot of vampires here. When am I going to be arresting people again, bro? And you know, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to tell you, get used to it, buddy. And yeah, sadly, this is where the game sort of goes from being, you know, slightly reminiscent of Time Splitters, and having something unique about it makes it, you know, different to just being a Judge Dredd Time Splitters mod. And I'm not saying that in a bad way. I love this game. I'm gonna have to tell you, it's perhaps one of my most favourite games of all time, because it has this charm about it. It has this presence when you're playing it, when you're seeing it, when you're watching it, that just says, this is fantastic. And we'll see in the background there, a judge running around on fire, and yeah, I hate to say it, but that's kind of what they do best. We used Hayek's to sort of great effect there. Best place to use it is in open areas. The splash isn't too great on it, as you might have noticed that one shot from it really didn't do much to another. But open areas, direct hit, that's going to make short work of pretty much anything. So worth bearing in mind, even if it has limited use, as you'll see later when we start getting into more and more cramped areas. Schoolboy error here.
Stop in the name of the law. Go ahead. Send me back to the cubes. You're going away for keeps. Hey! Life. We're gonna throw away the key. Only good perp is a caged perp.
One thing I feel in this level that they didn't take enough advantage of is the chaos of the situation. You see quite a couple of infights between criminals, judges and vampires, but I don't think the scale's big enough. You still feel quite isolated when you're supposed to be in a massive cell block, which is self-sustainable and a massive tower, and you just feel so lonely in it. I don't know, I feel they could have done more with this area, and we see a skeleton and a dead medic, which is always a sad sight, really.
You're all going back inside. Come quietly, citizen. Stop in the name of the law. Assume the position, creep. Life imprisonment.
See our British sounding friends here. That would be the man I was talking about who also voices Judge Dredd.
Life. We're gonna throw away the key. You're taking the big ride.
But yeah, go look him up on IMDb, Toby Longworth, and he's been in a surprising amount of stuff, considering he sort of makes an appearance in such a low budget bargain bucket video game. And we've reached another flavoured text sort of material hotspot, crime does not pay. rehabilitate. It's fantastic. Violence is not the answer. You know, a real fantastic insight into Dredd's world, where, you know, law and order are king, everything else is secondary.
Contact with the chamber where the dark judges are being held. Get over there fast.
Scum, en route now.
So we seem to be seeing another connection here between the vampires and the dark judges. The room where they're being contained seems to be sort of out of contact, which does not bode well at all for us and for Mega City. And just in case you're wondering, the dark judges see living itself as a sin, and in the Judge Dredd comic, My Name is Death, chronicles the sort of rise of the Dark Judges. The Dark Judges come from a parallel Earth where things are much more like our society, but they somehow still have a judge system, and they seem to have very little regard for human life. And the whole thing basically comes about where 4 men of their judge system basically decide to just go kill a bunch of bitches because they're psychopaths. They enjoy killing. But yes, these 4 men make contact with 2 witches, 2 witch sisters, who kill them and with poison, and it's quite a painful death, and then grant them immortality. And after they've finished destroying their world, which then turns their world into what is known as the Dead World, they then enter into, well, I'd say our world, but it's Dredd's world, and try the same thing in an little event known as the Necropolis, which we know at the very least this takes place afterwards.
Warning. Fail-safe locking mechanism deactivated.
What? Out of my head!
Emergency release activated.
Now, sinner, prepare to be judged. The crime is life. The sentence is death. Brock.